Welcome to another episode of the Global Green Action Project, a place where we get to meet amazing heroes doing great changes in the world to make it a more compassionate, kinder place through humanitarian, animal, and environmental initiatives. I'm your host, Jennifer, and today's conversation is with an incredible naturalist who has spent many years collecting scientific data to support various ecosystems and our natural environment in the most amazing ways. Our special guest is Albert Koenig, and he is going to discuss his passion, how he became a naturalist in his early beginnings, as well as the importance of connecting with nature to help heal the world, but also to help heal ourselves. Let's get that conversation started right now. Welcome, Albert, to the show. We're so excited to have you here. How are you doing today?
Oh, great.
I understand that you have been doing many years of research and you've met all kinds of really interesting people along the way. Curious to know a little bit about your story, how you became such a lover of the natural environment.
My mom, she found a snake and she let me pet it. I don't know, I guess she caught it and was handling it and let me touch the snake. And I, of course, don't remember any of this, but it illustrates, how a seed was planted, so to speak. And it went from there.
How old were you at the time?
About a year and a half old.
A year and a half old. That's amazing. That's really amazing. I think about moms and dads, especially in this era where we find parents very protective of their children.
Yeah.
So that to have that kind of experience at a year and a half must have been just life transforming. Wow.
Well, it definitely had. I'm sure it had some effect on me. So one of my first, the first group of animals that I with great interest in was snakes and reptiles and amphibians. And then butterflies, and then I remember a bird that I kept on seeing at these three little ponds in the woods behind my parents' house. And it was a pretty big bird, and as we would arrive at the pond, it always flew away. But I asked my mom, about this kind of bird I was seeing, if she knew what it was. But she didn't really, but she handed it this book, bird book, about European birds. As it turns out, when I really got interested in birds, which was at age 13, some years later, after the multiple sightings of this, what turned out to be a green heron.
It was a green heron that was your first exposure to bird life, is that correct, that you recall?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's the smallest heron. It's the smallest heron in Canada.
How small is the green heron?
Kind of crow size.
Crow size. Wow. Okay.
Which is still a sizable bird, which is now has been about 50 years.
So you were inspired initially with your mom's experience with snakes and how she exposed you to this wonderful experience. And then it led up to, as you said, you studied butterflies, other insects, and then eventually to birds. And the green heron is the first bird that you studied. And your mom gave you this beautiful, it's called ornithology, is that correct? An ornithology book? Is that how they say it?
The study of birds
Study
is
birds.
ornithology.
So she gave you this book, and you become scientists who observed this green heron, and it's in its natural habitat, and you just learned all this amazing information. And then this eventually led you to study other birds, is that correct?
And there were several other birds that caught my eye, including an unfortunate American kestrel, a beautiful little falcon, the smallest falcon in North America. Kestrels nest in tree hollows or even in industrial buildings, some hollow in the roof or whatever, but they nest in an enclosed space. We found this unfortunate kestrel in the bottom of the fireplace because it had entered the chimney and couldn't get its way out again. But this had happened weeks earlier, and it had unfortunately died. I was, of course, fascinated by this bird, the body of this bird, which it's kind of mummified a bit. Later, in August 1971, my father took us to Cape Cod on the eastern, on the Atlantic coast, and there were two species of birds there that really enthralled me. Actually, the habitat they were in and their calling, the calls. I remember, one had this whistling call, but it kind of a musical whistling sound that I so loved, and one had this more mournful call. So these two birds were the greater yellow legs with the whistling calls, and the black-bellied plover with that mournful call. And to this day, when I hear these birds, it evokes wonderful memories for me. These birds were the catalyst to me actually finally buying my own dedicated bird book, Birds of North America, by Roger Torrey Peterson, a classic. And then the bird thing went into overdrive. From that point onwards, I was hooked